Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. I'm Diana, one of the founders of Happy Women's Club, and I'm super excited as we're joined by Julia. She is, first of all, incredible person. We met a couple of years ago, and maybe it's not really business related, but I fell in love with the person as you are, and I'm just so grateful that you're part of the Happy Women's Club community. When you joined, it was just such a highlight of our community building, and we hosted a few events together. We supported you during your event, which was incredible. So I'm super grateful. Julie is the certified business coach, holistic business coach, right? And that's something that really connected with us and our purpose, because there are so many business coaches, but we really were looking, to connect with somebody who sees the business as a whole and really who is thinking about the well-being, work-life balance. So it was just incredible to learn from you. You're also a speaker, you're a wellness enthusiast, right? And you're also marketing strategist in the past, or probably you're still doing this together in your whole business. And so yeah, thank you so much for being here today. We're also joined by amazing two women, Ruby and Fernanda, and we'll definitely give a floor to you to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more about yourself. But we know that you work with Julia, and we would love to learn more about all your experience. So thank you so much for spending the time together with us this evening. Hmm.
Wow, thank you so much, Diana. What a nice introduction. Can I take you everywhere? You should
Absolutely,
be
with
my host.
pleasure. I have my own mic.
Thank you so much. That was very sweet and kind. Yeah, so it's been such a pleasure to be with the Happy Women community since you guys kind of began to participate in a few of your events. You and Natalia, like host so many beautiful events in Vancouver. And also, it's a great opportunity to meet people. So thank you for that. You already introduced me, so I'm not going to take too long there. But basically, as I'm a business coach, I've been working marketing for over 13 years and coaching for almost six. And I love working with women, helping them to launch and grow a sustainable business. And that's why we're hosting this event today. And I'm going to introduce Ruby and Fernanda, who are going to be part of kind of a conversation, a little bit of a panel. So I have a few questions written. Of course, if people have more questions that they want to send, you're welcome to. But it's going to be pretty informal and conversational and talking about these early stages, especially when you're going from a side hustle, like you have a full-time corporate job and you're planning to be full-time on your business and make that a reality. And the three of us have done that. The three of us, we've tried before and we failed. We all had another business that didn't go forward. And then we had a second time. So we had our lessons learned, and our businesses have been sustainable for a few years now. So that's what we intend to share today and just some supporting and learning lessons. So a quick introduction, Ruby Samano, she is the founder of Studio Chit Chat. She's a digital marketer and offer a number of services through her agency. So I'll let her expand into that. I know Ruby is also a lover of wellness and beauty industry. So she does a lot of work with things related to those industries. A lot of her clients are in those spaces. And she can add more to that in a bit. And Fernanda, she is a brand designer with a little bit of a twist. Like she works with mindfulness and really picturing like the essence of a brand. I actually had the pleasure of having my rebrand done by Fernanda. So all my like new logo, colors, fonts, the whole package, like everything you see, it was created by her. She does an amazing work. I really love what you create. So I'll let the two of you just add a little bit more before we get started with this conversation. So maybe Ruby, if you want to add something that I have missed, but just share with people like what you do.
Yes, thank you so much for the introduction as well. I'm happy to be here. And essentially, myself, like you said it, I am a boutique agency founder. I essentially work in the space of social media, content. Oops, sorry about that. Social media, content, and currently we will talk about this a little bit more as we delve into things, but pivoting more towards branding and design. I work with brands in the space of lifestyle, wellness, beauty, fashion, but also lots of coaches and service-based freelancers slash business owners. Um, and just overall have been in the space for over a decade as well. So know marketing very well. And so I can bring a little bit of that marketing know-how to any sort of content or design that I do too, which I think is super valuable. So that's me. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Fernanda.
Hey, first, thank you for having me here. I'm really, really happy. And it was such a pleasure to reveal the story behind and come here to tell, and hopefully it can help someone. So, yes, as you said, my name is Fernanda Ervilha. I am a brand designer. I've been working in the industry for over 15, 17 years. I'm old.
Aren't we all?
So, and I worked with advertising agencies, marketing teams back in Brazil. In 2015, I moved to Canada and I worked for a global tech company in Richmond for 7 years. And by the end of 7 years, I was leading the design team. And that was when I quit because I have a big burnt out. We're going to talk about that as well today. And after that, I had my son, my baby, and that was a big shift as well. That was the main reason why I'm one of the main reasons why I'm here today with like working with what I love. Today, my main thing is helping businesses just to look at their brand and actually see them through like copywriting and through their manifestos and visuals, everything cohesive, telling one story, so they can actually feel empowered to grow and impact more people. And I usually work a lot with wellness industry coaches, life coaches, or gym focused on wellness, beauty brands, what else? Well, mostly the wellness industry that really want to increase the impact. And I'm happy. Thank you for having me here. We're going to talk a lot more about that. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Fernanda. So I'm just gonna get to the first question that we have, which is about like we all started a business before, it kind of failed in some way, and then like or we decided to pursue something different, and then we got into that next thing. So what were the lessons that you learned this first time? Like tell a little bit what happened, what was the business, why it didn't work, and then how you came back afterwards. It's a bit of a big question. Maybe I'll start with Ruby.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually have two first businesses, and then I have my current one. I'll start with the very first one, which was I started out in Amazon space selling products online, e-commerce. It just called out to me because I was right out of or almost out of university, and I had very little money, but I had that itch to start something and start making a little bit of money somehow in a way that felt achievable. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna start my own Amazon store. And so I chose jade rollers as my product. And I think that was a very big lesson that I learned. And I'm glad I did it in a way that wasn't such a big, like high stakes sort of thing. Because I didn't invest too much money, but it taught me a huge thing, which is not to chase shiny objects or what you think someone else is doing that's going to make you successful. Because it works for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. But I did kind of have that insight of like, okay, I can't do this alone. I never really liked doing things alone, so I did get a coach back then. Kind of after starting things out, and she taught me a lot of things. And right out of the gate, I knew that this was like the right choice because I was like, okay, she knows 10 steps ahead from me, so I don't have to make as many mistakes. But it was also validating in a way, and it helped me build trust in myself that, okay, I am doing some things right, and someone else who's done it before can say that as well. So that taught me like, okay, I got something in me. I really want to pursue something else. And I graduated, and then I went into my first kind of like agency job at a very known kind of agency. And then I loved it. I loved it so much, but the culture itself wasn't, I loved the work, but I didn't like the job culture. So I knew I had to pivot then. And so I got my first kind of government job. And from there, I also loved the corporate world. It just had so many things that called out to me. And from every place, I took some things and then I kind of left the rest. I was like, okay, I don't like this. I like this. Sasha says she went through the agency world as well. Nice. I'm sure you can have some comments for us later as well on this. Yeah, I always thought to myself, I would love to have this, but in a boutique way where I don't have to deal with as much kind of like work where it feels like we're just pumping it out rather than doing better quality work, taking your time with it, and really catering to the business needs. So, carving your own way and your own business in a way that makes sense for you was like a big realization also for me. Um, so those were my first couple of tries at it. And we can get into like more lessons learned after, just a bit of an intro into those.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Ruby. Fernanda, how was it for you?
Uh, I gotta say that the first one got me to the second. I believe that we all did the same. It was the journey that took me there. But what made me open my first businesses, it was because I I had my burnout, quit my job. 2 months later, I had my kid. I no, I found out that I was pregnant. So I took some time for myself. In that time, um, I was trying to rebuild myself
So
overall.
basically, you had this job for many years, you were going through a burnout, you quit the job, and then you found out you were pregnant 2 months after you quit.
Exactly. But I saw everything such in is like in a positive way because the way I was doing in the business, I would never got I would never get pregnant and had such healthy pregnancy without the pressure that I was having at work. So I believe everything happened the way it should have happened. So when I got pregnant, it came out. I need to. Now I'm pregnant. I don't have a job. My head is screwed up because of the burnout and because of the relationship that I had with my business, the previous business. And I need to to find a way of bringing money while I'm pregnant. So and then I said I had that dream to create my son's like that beautiful dreamy boys bedroom decoration. So why not do myself? So I opened a business called My Wall, which I wanted to create like wall decals, like really um, creative, unique, something different from the market. So it was pretty fun. Um, it was like you can buy the piece, but you could move pieces around like a month later, 2 months later, so you could create new designs. It was a beautiful journey, but it was something totally out of my scope. I was actually providing services for 17 years. Like it was not a product, so I had to reinvent myself in that market. I had to understand, of course, the basics of the foundation of the brand. Who am I targeting? What I'm selling? Where am I going to get the materials? That was the fun part. I love this, like researching for all the decals. I went for searching those things. It was an amazing process journey, and which led me to for mastermind. Because if I wanted to do something, I wanted to start with the right foot. I wanted to start with a strong foundation. And I forgot about the question again. I'm already
What
going
what were the
sideways.
lessons that you learned like with this first business that didn't go forward?
The learning sometimes it went pretty well until the point that it should have. Like it didn't work because once my baby was born, I couldn't work because he was never a good sleeper. So I was working from 4 to 5 a.m. and it was not something sustainable for us, for me, for him. I had to stop. So the learn, I believe, in this stage was mostly you have to stop one step, one step behind, and so you can give a few forwards. And that was my learning moment, and my that's I believe that's the thing that I learned the most, and of course all the foundation that I got from Mastermind it was there with me until I got to
Mm-hmm.
the next point of my career,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess that's it.
Thank you for
Did I answer the
sharing.
question? Yeah.
Yeah, we will get to the next stage next. Well, I'll just share a little bit about my journey with my first job. So first I was also in an agency like Ruby, and I guess Fernanda was as well. So I was director of marketing. It was a pretty demanding job, kind of stressful, managing a team, dealing with clients. But at the same time, I wasn't feeling as fulfilled, and I started wanting to have my own business as well. It started with a friend who had a business and hired me to do some freelance work. And I never thought about having a business actually. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like I can make three times more like of my hourly wage doing the exact same thing and have my own time. So I thought that was very exciting. And I started to think about that. So my whole goal became to make enough money to quit my job so I could just make money by myself. So I wasn't really thinking like, what do I actually want to do? I was like, I started teaching social media marketing at a college because that's like a monthly um, salary that I'm getting from the college. I started getting clients on a retainer. So every month I would do marketing work for them. And I was working on a side project, which is like, I'm not going to get into details, but it had to do with like real estate, decor and architecture kind of space. And it was more like a content website. So I was building a whole engine of a website that was pretty complex. I had a developer helping me as well. And in the meanwhile, doing activities to bring money to the table. And then I did a lot of that, and in 8 months, which I find amazing because that's my job. Like, I've been working as a coach for almost 6 years, and I work with people in these early stages as well. And I've seen very few people who are able to leave their corporate job in 8 months, which was about the timeline that I took to get out. But I was burning out, kind of like Fernanda. Like I was having extreme anxiety. I had to like drop everything. And then I feel like, as Fernanda said, everything happens for a reason and at the right moment. And when we look back, things make sense. So definitely, I see like I needed to go through that experience. And then I got a job offer immediately after I quit. Like literally 2 days after I quit, I got a job offer that was kind of my dream job working in tech. It was my dream salary, like everything worked out perfectly. And then I could recover myself to learn how to do things differently, like unsubscribing to this hustle mentality that we need to work so hard and to really change everything. So I think my biggest lesson from this first business is definitely like taking care of ourselves, as you mentioned, Fernanda, with your kid. Like we can't neglect ourselves and our child, and there are just things that we can't move forward. And it's actually what made me go back to corporate before I even left. Is I look at myself and I'm like, I have no capacity to run a business right now and like to bring money to the table like this. I was such a mess and I can't do it. So I think the second time, that's what I did different. It's like just working on myself, on my mental health. And as I was building this new business, I knew I had to take that into consideration from the beginning. Like I can't, so I started being very aware of my time and my energy so I wouldn't burn the candle again on the both ends, you know? So I think that was the biggest lesson for me. And that actually gets to the next question, which is like, so moving forward in your journey, Ruby, how did this second business come along that you were actually able to sustain it for a longer time?
Yeah, great question. And I think I want to bring it back a little bit just because there's so many similarities in all of our stories too. And I realized I didn't tell you the second part of my first business, which is Studio Chit Chat 1.0. Because I think Studio Chit Chat is 2.0 right now. So Studio Chit Chat 1.0 came about. Remember, I worked in agency. In order to start my own sort of agency, I had to not compete. So I had to leave my agency role and search for another role. That's why I ended up in a government role. So once I was there, I worked, kind of built up the ladder. I was a really great employee. I had it pretty good. I was happy there. And then I got to a point where my contract was ending and I had to decide, do I want to continue or do I want to start this business that I wanted to start? But I had no plan. I had thought of zero savings or anything. All I had was the lovely support of my husband, who was like, yeah, do it. If it doesn't work out, we will talk about it later. Um, Fast forward to the end of the 6 months, and I was like miserable. I was also like super anxious and just not having a good time at all with the business that I was like, I chose this for myself. Girl boss all the way. And then it was also the beginning of COVID, so it felt like we couldn't even get out there and be around people. So it was not a great experience at all. I also paid a coach like tons of money, two guys actually. And that led me to another big lesson, which is choosing the right person to help you. Because I had to first kind of go with the Amazon thing, but then this time around, I thought I would do it well because these guys know what they're doing and they sell themselves very well, and you get kind of reeled into it. And you realize, yes, you can have a lot of accolades, but it also has to feel good. Like it has to feel like it's aligned both personality, culture, because yes, their content was objectively good, but it didn't resonate with me and it felt like the experience was kind of wasted. Um, so that was a huge lesson. And even though I had the support, it didn't connect. So I wasn't connecting the dots. It wasn't right for the stage of the business that I was in. I think that would have been great for a later stage business. So that's a huge kind of thing to consider as well. And I had no plan, like I said, I had no savings, nothing. So I think in hindsight, having that plan is super important. So that leads me to your second question, which is like, how did you approach things differently? So I actually went back to BC Hydro. I was like knocking on the door, hey guys, take me back. And we had a great experience. I didn't leave on bad terms, so they took me back. A couple months prior to entering, because of timing and everything, I even did like a construction apartment quality assessment role, which was way out of my scope and niche of things that I had done. But I'm the kind of person that just kind of pulls up her pants and just gets the job done, and I will do it because I need to do it. So I did that for a bit. Definitely not glamorous at all. And then I went into my corporate role and just started planning towards like Chit Chat 2.0. So I totally approached it differently. I was like, this time I need to write what are my non-negotiables for when I decide to make that leap. Like when I try it again, it has to be different. It has to work out. You can't do it again and then you fail again because that would suck so much. So it took me about a year and a half. So after even entering, a year and a half to just prep, like you, Julia, I had to feel secure in like the income that I was bringing in consistently on a monthly basis. So I was definitely making sacrifices in my time. I was working 9 to 5, but then I was coming home and working evenings. And so I was putting in that work, getting there. And I told myself I need to choose someone to guide me and actually that feels good to work with and will understand me at the stage of business that I'm in so that I can make that progress and make those changes. Otherwise, it's never going to work out. And it can't just be like content that's being fed to me. It has to feel like it has to feel applicable and in small incremental ways that feel like I'm making huge progress. So I have some notes here. That's why I'm looking here. So then I did have like that steady income. I told myself I just want to cover my personal expenses so I don't have to like, feel like I'm missing anything in my life. And I need community. That was another huge kind of like non-negotiable. I need to be surrounded by like-minded people because if I'm surrounded by negative people who kind of like don't understand or have opinions or are like the little voice in my head, then I'm probably going to feel defeated or like I can't achieve it. So that was super important and having that accountability as well.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. So, how did you get to all of this stuff? Sorry, because it's not clear, like where
Yeah.
you were and how did you get all that to support you?
Sorry, how did I get?
The things that you were looking for to support you, like community and like even events like the Happy Women Club, like how you were meeting people, like
Yeah.
where were you getting the support?
So when I left my job, I had like those things, right? I wanted to make a steady income. that was like ongoing. So not just like one-off monthly contracts. I actually had set up like 6-month contracts. And so I felt like I had good enough runway. And I also told myself as soon as I have, like as soon as I leave my job, I need that community and support. So that's when I looked into coaches. And I already knew Julia because she was always top of mind. She was like a Vancouver girl. And I kind of had her saved on my little Instagram folder, marketing tips and girl bosses in the area. And so I was like, she seems cool. She seems like she knows a lot of people in the city. And she seems to have really valuable insights. She kind of gets where I'm coming from. So you were really instrumental in like the networking events. And yeah, like putting this together was because of you. So I think the mastermind was great. And then also through the mastermind, meeting people like Michelle and Victoria, who are also kind of in a similar space as me, like they're both copywriters. You eventually build those relationships that are so good for your business because you pass business to each other. And so it's kind of a mutually beneficial relationship where they trust you, you trust them, and it just feels like a great sort of space to start building those first few relationships that will take you to that next level. So that's kind of where I got all of that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Ruby. Fernanda, so just a reminder on the question, it's basically like going to the second business. How was it? And what did you do differently to make it work?
I believe, based on, I really agree with everything that Ruby was saying about connection and putting ourselves out there, community. And I was amazed how you had before Julia was asking it, I was amazed how you had that mindset so clear for you from the beginning. It was something that when I first got to open my first business, I didn't have this business mindset. So I needed to go after someone that could introduce me this path to create some solid foundation of what you do should do now and how you're gonna grow and get to be known in the market. So that's why I came to Julia for the first mastermind. But do you know the difference between the first one to the second one? I would say it's passion. I was more passion driven, more purpose driven. Then I need to make this work. I have a kid, I have to put money, I have to bring an income. And so that was a huge difference because I already had the blueprint to actually build my business because of the first mastermind. But I remember exactly when Julia was saying during the courses, go networking, go be part of this. Gotta put yourself out there. You have to make connections. And Julia is the one that it's known by connecting people and putting people together so they can grow together. But when I did for the mastermind too, that didn't sound like overwhelming anymore. So to build my brand, to build my foundation, to go out there, to be at the forum, at another networking, it was more of exciting than a barrier. And I really wanted to make those connections because I wanted to actually show up to say, this is what I do, and this is how I want to create an impact. So it was more towards the passion and knowing towards this break when I stopped trying to invest at my wall decals business was when my son was like 4 months old and he needed me. So actually I said, he's eventually gonna go to the daycare. So let's enjoy this time together. So during that time, I was like, okay, what do you want? So like Joe Dispenza came hot, like it came in hot. So I was actually trying to get in touch. How can I actually get to know what I want in my life? So I took that 6 months, I believe, to actually understand what I want to do. So I did. Now I was going for something that I know that I'm good at, that I know that I love, that I wanted to like. I didn't want to do for the business, like for the corporate world anymore. I wanted to do my way. So I trusted my process. So it was more like now it's my turn to invest on something that I love and I trust. But how can I make a profitable and how can I make my work known? I'm the only one that knows that so far. So, and then I believe the approach was similar to the first one. Let's go for some solid foundation someone that understands the business blueprint, and someone that is going to keep me accountable, which was the mastermind. Number two, the return. So that was, did I answer the question? I'm so sorry if I,
Yeah, no, it's okay. So just to clarify, because maybe people
what did I
didn't
do?
get that, but so Fernanda did the mastermind twice. She did one for the wow decor business, and then she did for her branding business. And I do want to just make a note as well about the networking, because I do push people to go to networking. And I just want to say Happy Women Club, like they do amazing events, and it's also a great place
Mhm.
to meet people. And it's something so important. I have a few clients who have felt very uncomfortable as well going to events and meeting people and feeling nervous. And also, like, it's my goal to make you guys succeed, right? So like I want you to do what's best. And I know sometimes we need to get out of the comfort zone, but things like when you put yourself out there as an expert, you're also gaining more authority, credibility, trust, and which is going to lead to people want to work with you. And I do want to mention here, like Fernanda, if you allow me to say, but you were quite shy as well to speak in public. And then one day, I'm
Even
like,
here with you guys.
yeah, one day I'm like, wow, you were like speaking at events with a mic on. Yeah, we did my rebranding where I think it was the first time that you were speaking at that event. So we did, it was like, it was a lot of people, right? I don't remember how many people. It was a lot of people. So you presented beautifully. But after that, you started getting other opportunities to speak with other communities, get in front of other people. And I feel like that opened up a whole other door to reach new audiences and to grow your business as well. Like, can you talk a little
Mhm.
bit about that? Like, how you see that actually? Was it helpful? And
I'm
yeah.
extremely thankful to you because I am shy. And it's so many barriers that you have to go through to actually speak up because you gotta go through this process of believing what you're saying, believe in yourself. Just get rid of every thought that it's gonna be going against you. Like um, just go for it and trust your gut, trust yourself. And that I'm really thankful to you because it made me go from, like, personally speaking, I had a growth, an exponential growth, personal growth mindset, and I started speaking for the YVR community, the people, the community here in Langley as well. And from my first time there, I spoke at your event, and then I spoke in a webinar with you as well. All of them was really positive in a way that was really impactful what I had to say. And I had clients come from this even a year after. So I spoke on an event like a year ago, June last year, and I just delivered a branding project. Today was the approval for this client. So I'm extremely thankful, not only for speaking, but accepting challenges. Just don't, why you're going to say no just because you're afraid. If you are afraid, it's because there is an opportunity there. So just take it, and I'm really thankful to that.
Oh, that
And it's not easy networking. Another thing that you do very well is the networking with, um, just contribute with something. Just don't go there so you can get help, but try to provide help as well. Um, so that's the beauty of community. And it's
Mhm.
not easy to do it alone, not at all. And maybe I can say it's impossible. You're going to have your burnout, your own, like your own business. So count with people. And that's another thing that was a big learn as well for the second business.
Amazing. I'm glad I did a little bit of a detour on the script here, because I love everything that you just shared right now. Um, you mentioned like you did like a speaking engagement and you got a client 1 year after. So I just want to also note here, that's something that I always repeat both in my programs or on my social media. But like once you build that foundation for the business and you're constantly doing those things, like you are doing the networking, you're speaking, you are doing
Yeah.
your social content, you're doing email marketing. Like when you're doing all the pieces consistently, the machine just flows. And then it can, like a person that you met a year ago may become a client today. It's like you're not chasing every single person that you meet all the time when you meet them because you know it's gonna come. It's just like you just work on that foundation and consistently do the work, and then things just flow. Ruby, I see you're like nodding. I just want to give you an opportunity if you want to share anything about all this conversation.
No, I was just pointing to myself saying like me because I knew about you as I was in corporate too, and I was like consuming all the content, but I could resonate with a lot of what you were saying. And I think I did know you for about a year and a half, 2 years, maybe even more. And then I was like, okay, now I'm ready. And it feels right. It feels like a good vibes type of adventure mastermind to get into. And I have seen that as well with just clients of my own where like I have met some clients through the like the mastermind network or even just like people that you've pointed me to. So that's been super helpful. And I think for someone who like for me, it was easier, like Fernanda was saying, it's nice that you knew from the start that you needed that community. I think because I had that experience of being alone and doing it alone, and that as a freelancer or someone who's just starting out, it feels like a very lonely space. And for me, it was more like an emotional thing too, where I had to make that decision of like, if I put myself in that space, like I will flourish and I will do really well. Um, but all of the other stuff that came with it that I didn't even know I needed, that were like light bulb moments, were like super valuable. Like I remember a huge light bulb moment was that hiring like my first contractor when I was like, oh, I'm doing it all by myself and I'm like burning out again and this is not what I wanted to do. Like, why did I do this to myself? But then we were talking about why do you have to do it all yourself? Like you can outsource, you can find someone to help you with like things that you can and you can delegate them. And that's when I was like, oh yes, that's so true. Like being a business owner, you have to learn how to make those like fear-based decisions versus logic-based decisions. Like logically it makes sense, but sometimes fear holds you back and you're like, I'm not going to do it, but you should do it because it's what's right for your business. So I remember almost saying no to the contractor, but then I said yes, and that was like a huge moment for me. Feels like a little thing, but I think for when you have a business, you're like, oh my gosh, my first like quote unquote employee or like someone that's helping me. That's cool.
Yeah, it's an investment.
Hmm.
On that topic, I just want to say one more thing about what Fernanda shared about speaking, and then I'm gonna go to the next question. But about going from like being someone shy to actually putting yourself out there, because I think many people may not know, but I am very much an introvert. And I grew up being extremely, extremely shy. Like, I wouldn't say good morning to my neighbors in the elevator when I was a kid, like people that I would see all the time. I was just that shy. I would hide behind like my parents' legs, in the elevator, just so I don't need to look anyone in the face. And then I moved here, etc. And like being in a different country with a different language, also, it's a little bit of a extra challenge. But then around 2016, meetups were a huge thing. So I was already in the marketing industry. I was working at the agency, and I would go to all these meetups to learn what's happening from like top people in town. And I would see them speaking, and then I'm like, you know what? Like, I have a lot of the knowledge that they're sharing, and I want to be on a stage too. Like, I want to be sharing too. I don't know where that came from because it's not part of my personality, but I wanted to do it, but I was very shy. So I joined Toastmasters, which is like a club. You guys can Google if you're interested. But I joined Toastmasters for a few months. And honestly, I didn't find amazing. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Like I don't know, didn't find amazing. But something happened because I started putting myself out there. So I would start volunteering. I remember the very first time I had a mic in my hands. Oh my God. I wouldn't even send a WhatsApp audio because I couldn't bear to listen my own voice on WhatsApp. So imagine putting a mic in my hands to say something. So I had a work event at Cold Core. It was like a developers lab in Gastown. And my company would host meetups there. And one day they had like a whole bunch of people speaking, and they wanted me to do the Q&A. So questions that people had about marketing that I would answer. And I'm like, sure, it's just the end, just a few minutes. And I was terrified. Like when I got the mic, I could barely speak. And then when I look today, it's like, who is this person? It's like, what am I doing? Like, how am I hosting this conversation here? And even like, of course, speaking in stages as well. But I find amazing how much we can change. And like looking back, honestly, like I would never ever think I would be what I am today. And it's all it flows so naturally when we know what we're heading and why we're doing it, and we just take these steps, and then transformation just happens. So not just for speaking, but for anything, because all these skills I learned, like I used to despise sales. Like most people don't like selling. Like we like what we do. You like to do design, you like to do marketing, but most people they don't like to sell. And my first few sales were horrible. Like the sales calls, I was so nervous. When I would pitch, I was like shaking. It's like, am I asking too much money? Oh my God, what am I doing? And then with time and just by doing, hi Logan. With time and just by doing um repeatedly, right? Like we just get used to it. And now I just love sales because I don't see as sales, it's a conversation. Um, so it's just like we can change so much and giving an opportunity for that to happen. So moving on to the next question, Ruby, you actually started touching on this point about investing in the business. So if you could point out a good investment you've done in the business and a bad investment, it can be more than one, or if you can pick one or the other, like if you want to do a good or bad or both.
Okay, I'll give you a couple for each one of them. So good investment would be definitely getting yourself like a coach for sure. I think that was great for community, but also if you're someone who doesn't have a plan, who has no idea how to like put things together in order, how do I achieve, the best outcome for myself, especially if you're just starting out, I think it's really helpful. So investing in yourself in that way will always pay off. And doing the work, of course. Bad investment was that like bro mentality coach that I got. Huge waste of money, in my opinion, for myself, because it just wasn't the right fit. So I think knowing who to pick, for me, Julia made sense because she focused on wellness, which is huge for me. She focused on like female entrepreneurs, and she did like business coaching holistically. So not just like the business side of things, not just marketing, but you also looked at the human behind the business, which I appreciated. So there were some cool exercises that came out of that. Um, and then some other like good and bad investments, I would say great investments were my contractors. So like investing in your team is such a big one, especially as a business owner. Sometimes you want to like keep things cheap and cheerful, but sometimes splurging a little bit more on your team will help your business in the long run. So making those like smart decisions will always pay off for your business. Not being scared about, hiring someone, but also doing your due diligence to getting someone that's good. Those would be huge for me.
Amazing. Thank you, Fernanda.
I gotta agree with Ruby about get someone to help you start from. Don't try to come up with the blueprint yourself. Go for someone, a coach or someone that really aligns you, that can guide you from the beginning. Um, Networking a lot. Put yourself out there. Courses. I did so many courses just to increase your knowledge, get to know what is out there, what people need, what your marketing, what your audience needs, and I would say invest in your. I believe that's inside networking and community, but invest in your personal brand. Not only the visual identity stuff that's important, but personal brand. Go there, go out there, say what you stand for and why you're here, what kind of impact do you want to make, and get people to remember about you, about what you say, and the rest is gonna follow. But I would say so. Yeah, invest in your brand, community, networking, community, and courses. Get someone to guide you and be there for you.
Did you do any investments that it wasn't great, that
I
you're like, oh, I wouldn't do that again?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I did pay a lot of courses, expensive courses with big names in the advertising industry, or but but I had to do them in a way I love doing them, but I had to go through them to see, no, that's not what I want to do. But it was valid, all the knowledge that I got. But no, I don't think I did.
Good. That's
Anything
great.
that I regret. Yeah.
I don't know if I can remember anything I regretted either, but I'm gonna give some
Yeah.
good investments that I had. So for me, when I started, I did hire a coach as well, but I think the biggest thing for the coach, it wasn't like about starting a business, because that's a little bit of my background, but it was about my worth, about charging. It's like, and how, and validating
Hmm.
how much I was thinking about charging. And I loved that she never gave me a number. She just made me feel good about what I wanted to charge. And from there, like, I think it worked as it was meant to. Like, so I really like the validation, which is a piece that Ruby mentioned as well at some point, that when you work with someone, just like sometimes we're so lost, like, am I doing this right? And having someone that knows to say yes or to say no, actually, let's move the direction a little bit. Like, I think that it's really, it gives us so much more confidence to move forward. Now I have a whole bunch of investments. I'm going to list them very quickly, but like software is a big thing. So QuickBooks is one of the very first software that I invested in the business. Already separating your accounts, have different bank accounts, credit cards, and then having QuickBooks to manage all the business expenses and money coming in. I think that's important. I also had an accountant since the beginning, helping to do the books for the business itself, especially like, of course, after incorporating, it got much more complex. So that's like a must for me. And my branding as well. So many of them you may not know, but like my background is in graphic design. I studied graphic design, but I'm a horrible designer. But I'm better than most non-designers, Like I'm okay managing my brand, but I'm not good creating my brand. So when I started my business and I was just testing out, I just started like my own created a brand. But as soon as I saw like, wow, this is going somewhere, I went to Fiverr and I hired like cheaper, but not necessarily cheap. But like it was cheaper than hiring someone. And she created a brand that worked well for a while. And then that brand wasn't resonating anymore. And then I worked with Fernanda actually. So she did all the rebranding. And now it's like, wow, I get compliments all the time. People say like they go to the website and they really connect with the brand. That makes a huge difference. And it's honestly the difference between people looking at you like, are you a professional? Like, are you taking your business seriously? Because, of course, there are levels for different people. Some people can go to Canva and do something that is going to look okay. Some people are going to do something and it's like, dude, that's not good, you know? And it's hard to give that feedback, but it's different skills. We all have different skills, different abilities, and how you put yourself out there is huge. I truly believe, for example, Diana, part of your community of Happy Women Club, part of the success is how you guys position yourselves, how you brand yourselves, the imagery that you put there, and you guys do that very well. And a lot of people have a hard time doing that. So I think investing in that in the early stages is the difference between people taking you seriously or not. So I think that's an important piece as well, especially for products as well. How are you going to have a product with a poor packaging, that stuff. Um, so,
Julia, I
But
just wanted to add, first of all, everyone is just so inspiring, listening to your stories is just like wow. And talking about the branding, it's so important. That's true. That's how people get, recognize you. And also, I have your essential oils that I carry with me pretty much all the time. And if you have events, and yeah, I have it. I wanted to take it, but it's on my desk on another side. But every time like open, they're like, oh my God, this looks so cool. And I'm like, yes. And then I go and explain who did it, when you did it. And it's just like, it's also not about the branding itself. I think it's about like creating not creating, there is a story behind it. There are people behind it. And as you mentioned, like how you went through a lot of stages in your life. I feel like it also, you can see it and you can feel it in the brand and in the name that you put out there. So yeah, I think it's amazing, and it's just way more than just branding. It's like it's a language that will speak to others.
Wow, thank you so much, Dan. Well, this is all Fernanda, so kudos to her.
Yeah.
But I agree, and I think that's
Teamwork.
an
Yeah.
important investment, for sure. And having like a website, having email platform. So I know those things cost money. Some things can wait a little bit, but some are just necessary right from the get-go, and it's part of the investment of starting a business. So I don't remember anything that I have regretted, but there are a lot of things that I'm just like, wow, thank God I had this in place. We are getting to time here, but I would love to go over two more questions, if we all have the time. One, it's about the leap of faith. I think that's one of the biggest questions people have. It's when to leave corporate, when it's the right time, and it's very scary, like, and Fernanda, I guess you didn't quite had the leap of faith because you just quit. You were not quitting for a business. You were just quitting because you needed, but you still had to make that tough decision. So maybe like from that place, can you talk about your leap of faith? And then Ruby, you can talk about yours as well, leaving the company. And Diana, even if you want, I know you are through a different phase as well. You can share your experience as well.
It was exactly. It wasn't that moment that the leap of faith, but being in this abusive relationship in my work that I was 7 years already, and I believe it was almost 2 years in this like you don't actually know you are in this kind of relationship until you have a hole inside of you. It's weird. And then I'm from Brazil, and I believe Julian knows this tradition or this. We don't quit. My parents, my family said, if you want to quit, you have to find another one. This burnout thing doesn't exist for them. So I was there for 2 years trying to survive in that work, and but I did quit. What made that? And it was important to quit. So I had my husband to by my side saying, "You were crying for 2 years already, like before meetings, after meetings, to start working, having like anxiety. So that's a good thing. Like invest in yourself now." And I remember I got pregnant, and then I started applying. I needed to find a job. So I started applying. And I believe it was with Epsilera. I was an pause. Amazing how the companies approach pregnancy here. They don't really care. They want to hire you anyways. And I was amazed by the approach. I think it was amazing, really caring. And I was with the last stage of the hiring process. And I remember I was creating a campaign for Epsilera. I was applying for the brand designer for Epsilera, and I remember before sending out the brand campaign, I said no, I don't want to do this. So it was more, I guess, the leap happened that moment when I said I don't want to go back to corporate. And I remember my husband was sharing workspace with me, and I just screamed so happy, I'm not going back. So that felt so I felt so good, so relieved that that moment I decided, no, I'm gonna invest on myself. And that decision was huge. When you actually feel it, like, nope, I'm not going back to corporate. So that was my moment of.
Mhm. Just like feeling and knowing. That's it.
It's weird. That one of the things that, yeah, I believe getting to know yourself, getting to understand and listening to you, this process of becoming a business person, boss girl, or you have to start listening to you throughout the process. Nothing set. I feel that things evolve, but you cannot stop investing or working or doing things, because during this journey you have to pay attention. Sometimes you feel it's off. It's almost physical. You feel something's off, but you keep doing, and then something goes wrong. And then when something goes right, you feel it. Oh, I want to invest on this. So it's, yeah, you feel it. It's, you just have to start listening. Sometimes you take more time to listen, but you start giving more attention, be more aware of how your body reacts, or how
Hmm.
you actually, there is a sense of your body knows what is happening, what is good for you.
Love that.
Yeah, it's
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Ruby, how was the leap of faith for you to leave the job the last time?
Yeah. So I actually had this conversation with a friend today, this at lunch, and she's also getting kind of an itch to start her own thing. And she's like, "Can we go out to lunch and tell me about your experience?" I said, "Yes, you get the preview before the actual event." Um, but I think what I said to her, and I said it really well then, but now I feel like I'm on the spot, but I'll try to recap. It's essentially like it's such a personal journey, and I think you just have to have what makes you feel safe. Um, and in order to kind of pull the trigger on that. So writing down those things that make you feel like, okay, once I get to this point, I feel safe enough to make that leap because you make the leap, but you make the leap with like your little parachute on, right? Like you're not just you're not expecting to fall on the ground hard, right? You're expecting to free flow. Um, but essentially making sure that I saved up enough money for me, that was a huge one. Initially, I had no safety or like emergency fund or anything like that. I also didn't have like steady clients. So those were my non-negotiables. Um, and just knowing that I wouldn't be doing it alone was such a big one too, because that also inspires me to keep going after what I want to do. Another huge one, which was also very emotional. It was a lot of emotional kind of pulls, but some logical. One of the big emotional ones was that, I'm a really great employee. I know how to get the next role if I want to. It feels great when I get it. But then I got to that point where I was like, oh, this doesn't actually make me happy. Like, I got to this point, I reached a standstill. It feels kind of like, what's next? And maybe what you're looking for is not like that success in the corporate world. So that's where you also know, like, I am meant to be doing something else. Maybe I'm not meant to be in the 9 to 5. And sure, it's not going to be like the same income every 2 weeks in my bank account. I have to go out and make it happen. But it will feel way more aligned because it's what you actually feel like you're meant to be doing. So if you have that pull, which I always had that pull, I was like, yeah, I need to go into my creative venture. I really want to do this. But it also can't all be emotional. You need that plan. You need that backup, and that's going to give you that safety to kind of take that jump.
Wow, I like resonate so much with so much that you shared. First, I want to say I really love how you put it that it's going to look different for everyone because I think that's the first thing. Like, there is no right answer. And there is no right time. It's impossible. Like, when is the right time to quit your job? There is no right answer. It's going to be different for each person. And even looking at people I worked with, like I worked with like a woman who is a single mother of 3 kids. It's like her situation is very different from the kind of cozy situation I had with like a long-term partner, which is your situation as well, Ruby. Like just having that stability that if something goes, pardon my word, but if it goes to shit, you have someone to kind of to hold you back for a little bit. So each person is in a very different situation. So I did end this relationship and now I'm by myself and I think about it sometimes and I'm like, if I was single, I don't know if I would have done, if I would have quit. I don't know. It's like, it's we don't know because it's not a thing. It's just in my mind, but it's harder. It's much harder. So I think recognizing that it's all different. In terms of savings, it's definitely like the financial part, it drives so much anxiety. So the first time that I quit, remember I mentioned like I was doing everything to make retainers, right? So I'm like, I'm teaching classes in the evening, I'm getting clients on retainers. So that was my whole goal. And I was literally pencil in like the money to see like this, that's how much I'm making. But then the second time, of course, that's important. But then I was able to grow my business enough that I built a savings. I built a pretty good savings during for a year and a half that I was running the second business. And then I said the first time it took me 8 months, the second time it took me a year and a half. But then I did it all right and for good. It's gonna be, I think it's 4 years of full-time self-employment now, 6 years of total business. But anyway, yeah. Um, I think those were the differences. Diana, I know you are full-time with your breathwork practice as well and Happy Women Club, and that was kind of recent. Do you want to share your experience?
Yeah, sure. I feel like I really resonate with everyone saying, at some point you just feel like there's something else for you. And I think it's absolutely fine for somebody to do 9 to 5 and probably feel happy. But when you feel this inside, you're like, you cannot just stop thinking or stop feeling every time you would come, and do your job, which you're doing great, but then you're like, there's something more to that. And for me it was, so we've been doing Happy Women's Club for a couple of years, but we never call this a business. We would always say it's a soul project. So it's a space for us to unite women, to create something beautiful, just to kind of go with the flow. We didn't have much of a strategy. We started to add a little bit of elements of strategy and like how we can monetize it and actually make it profitable. And we only started doing this like, last year, even less than a year. Before that, it was let's just go with the flow and see how it goes. And then on another note, it's my breath work. I teach people how to breathe properly, and some people do, laugh a lot. They're like, "What do you teach people how to breathe?" Which is funny. And the same thing I heard about like Happy Women's Club. So who you are, like, ladies, are you just, I don't know, talking about men all the time? Because the name, it was really funny how always people have those elements of not believing in what you're doing. And I faced it twice with Happy Women's Club and now with Breathwork. And I'm like, I really don't care what others think or say because I truly believe in what I do. And sometimes, like I've been talking to people and they're like, do you really believe in your business and whatever you're doing? I'm like, yes, I'm so delusional that I don't care what's gonna happen. I want to try. I want to do it because I know if I'm not gonna do this now, probably I don't know how it's gonna be in 5 or 10 years. But if I have this opportunity right now, I will go full in and I will see and I will create something for myself. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing right now with my breathwork practice and with the club as well. So it really resonates with me, but I don't have any good solid strategy. So it's really funny because feels like you were like prepared in many aspects, or for sure, Julia, you were. But for me, I'm like, this is it, now or never.
Hmm. Yes, no, I get it. I felt the same as Ruby mentioned as well. Like I felt I need to try this now, knowing that also if it doesn't work, I can get back to the job market because I had a good career. I was a good employee and I would have no problem getting a job again. So I think I had that same kind of mentality. We are at time right now, so I'm just going to start wrapping the conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you, Diana, for having us. Thank you, Fernanda and Ruby, for sharing your experience as well. I wanted to ask one more question that if you girls have time, you can answer by email, and then we can send on an email with everyone. But it's just what is like one piece of advice you would give for people who are in that stage, like side hustling and wanting to go full on their business. If you had one piece of advice, we can send that by email. And to finish, I just want to mention that so Fernanda and Ruby were both part of my mastermind program a few years ago, like 2 to 3 years ago. It's been a while, and they've been going strong with their businesses. So I just love seeing clients that like we worked together a while ago and that they're still doing so well and growing. So that makes me so happy. And I have registrations open right now for this program. We cover the entire foundation of your business, just making sure that you take care of all the fronts, looking at your target audience, brand positioning, what you're offering, pricing, marketing, sales, like pretty much everything that you need to have the business running, and what you need for sustainable income, right? Because I think that's what it is about. It's longevity. It's not just talking about launching a business, but it's actually how you sustain it long term. So we do have special bonuses for the Happy Women's community. So we're going to send everything by email, but I just want to leave the invitation invitation here. And thank you so much again, everyone. Any final words?
For me, I would just like to say thank you so much for spending your time this evening together with us. And yeah, everyone is just so inspiring. And I'm sure, this is also the door that opened for us to collaborate and do something together. Because every interaction always brings something, and we as women can uplift each other all the time.
I agree. I love that. And it was so nice to just chat and reminisce. I think parting words would be to just be patient, that things take time and dedication. So definitely go easy on yourself and don't expect, to make that decision and be like, okay, at the snap of my fingers, it's going to happen and all fall together. Yeah, just be patient with yourself and it will come, it will happen. And if you're here, you probably already have an itch to do something. So I'm assuming, it's better to try it out and kind of like see how it goes. And I mean, we've all come from backgrounds where things didn't work out, but things will work out eventually if you just keep going at it. So I think that's like the biggest thing that unites us in this Zoom call.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like we said many, many times here, everybody has a different journey. So do not look to the others, other people evolving. They are doing their thing. Their idea of success might be different than your idea it is for success. Um, do your thing, enjoy the journey, I don't know, get excited with every win because this is the what makes you going. It's way more important than the final goal because the small wins, it's the ones that are going to keep you going. It's just one post on Instagram or just actually open your Instagram account. Get excited for all that and just do it. And thank you
Amazing.
so much for having us. It was a pleasure being
Thank
here and
you.
talking more about it.
Thank you. On the email, we're going to send the contact information as well for Fernanda, for Ruby, for myself. So if you guys want to see their work as well, you can do that. And thank you again, Diana. Have a good evening, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.